Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, Anthony Davis dominates again, and the Summer Lakers get dominated again. It's a day of domination. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter how or where you get your podcasts, it's always free and never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 24,000 subscribers, all of whom are wondering, Andy, whether or not the Summer Lakers are ever going to win a game and whether or not Team USA is in shape to win gold in Paris in a few weeks after they kind of, I'm not that deeply invested in the success of Team USA, but people were disappointed by their 98-92 win over Australia. We are not here, Andy, to break down the weaknesses or strengths of Team USA. We care only for the performances of the Lakers who are playing on the team. And to that extent, once again, particularly when it comes to Anthony Davis, things look good.
Yeah, 17 rebounds, 14 minutes in just 18 minutes on the court. There were some really good, strong defensive plays. He was disruptive, creating steals or blocks. He was positioning really well, cleaning the glass. And I think moments like these are great for Anthony Davis, just in terms of trying to maintain, as much as we get concerned about wear and tear, is he going to be showing signs of exhaustion heading into next season? You also love the idea of there being momentum from what was a really strong season, arguably his best in purple and gold, and certainly as good as any that he's had. Yeah. I feel safe saying it's one of the best of his career, if not maybe the best. And the idea of maybe staying in that rhythm, carrying that momentum, as long as his body cooperates moving forward, because it's incredibly important that AD remain able to be the guy that can really be that impactful on both sides of the ball. It's a great showcase and potentially a great tool for the Lakers.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about the potential value of it, and some of it is external in the sense that there is value to Anthony Davis to playing really well on a big stage to change the minds of and the perceptions of other people, and the perceptions that they have of him as an elite player. Just because you and I have both recognized, I think, and tried to really keep an eye on ourselves in terms of how of making sure we don't move the bar unfairly with Davis. It's all-stars have high expectations. All-stars are meant to achieve certain things and are held to a certain level and all of these other things. That's why they're stars. And Anthony Davis, if he wants to be called elite, and he does, and he should be, is going to be.
To be fair, he is. I think the general
absolutely that was going to be the next thing I was going to say. Like, he is that one of those guys. He should be held to that standard. It still needs to be fair. It still needs to be one where, really good is good enough. Like in a game, excellent is excellent enough. And the bar doesn't always slide to, why aren't you just a little bit better? Why aren't you, why aren't you doing this every single game? Or why do you have some games where you underperform, as if other stars don't have games where they underperform or things like that? I remember our former colleague Max Kellerman at ESPN, when we were doing radio work with him at ESPN, in talking about Kobe, for example, always would bring up the point, like, when you talk about greatness, it is true. Like, Kobe could have been greater. Kobe could have been a better teammate in a lot of ways. He could have been more judicious at times about his shot selection or things like that. There were ways to make Kobe greater. There are ways to make all good players, all great players, even greater. but it's a mistake to get held up in that space where you're focused on, wow, wouldn't it have been great if Kobe was greater? Or wouldn't it be great if Anthony Davis was greater, to the expense of the stuff that they actually do? And I think we being the royal we, basketball community, fall into that trap with Anthony Davis frequently. So there's value in helping him change that perception. But I think that, Andy, too, there's also value in AD playing with the best players in America, and basically by extension, many of the best players in the world, and being one of the best players on the floor. I think that has value for him too.
Well, it's also too, I mean, I think there's, beyond what it says to the rest of, the basketball watching universe, I think it also says something to the franchise as we look to be in this place where Anthony Davis is considered the unquestioned number one of this team, the most important player on this team, the most important voice on this team is going to be LeBron until LeBron retires, or I guess plays for another team. I'm just not expecting that to ever happen.
Right.
Just because LeBron's stature is going to be impossible for AD to likely match, period. But certainly while they are teammates, there simply isn't enough time for Anthony Davis to make up that gap, were it even possible to begin with.
Yeah.
But you do need to be constantly reassured and seeing tangible evidence that Anthony Davis is able and taking that metaphorical torch. And I think we saw a lot of it this season, this past season. And I think Anthony Davis is leaning into the idea of this is going to be his role moving forward, and, his station on the court next season and beyond, even while playing with LeBron James, or even while playing with, superstar X that they may add to the team, whatever. It's never going to totally feel like Anthony Davis's team, just because, again, LeBron is LeBron, and he's going to go down as one of the greatest athletes in, forget just North American history, like the history of sports. Like, that's just the levels of achievement and respect that LeBron has reached. It's similar to what you and I used to talk about all the time, where when the Lakers, during the last few years of Kobe's career post Achilles, one of the reasons I think they struggled to get superstars to join up during that period, beyond the fact that there were questions about just how good the team could be, it would have been incredibly awkward for LeBron or Kevin Durant or Melo back then to join that team with Kobe, knowing at that stage of the respective careers, again, post Achilles, want to make sure it's clear, post Achilles, they were all extremely better than Kobe at that stage of his career, but it would still be Kobe's team. You would have to worry about stepping on each other's toes. And I think these guys all had so much sincere and genuine respect for Kobe. They didn't even want to potentially create something like that or step into something like that. I don't think that dynamic exists now with LeBron and AD, because I think LeBron, relishes the idea of somebody doing more of that stuff. And if it feels like AD is the number one option on the team, I think at this stage of his career, LeBron is fine with it. But again, all the signs you can possibly see of it happening are great for the Lakers moving forward.
Yeah. Do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. And as the playoffs wind down, Andy, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Let's little bit more about Team USA. I haven't talked much about LeBron.
JJ Redick explained his Defensive Player of the Year rationale that did not include Anthony Davis.
So we'll get into all of that. We'll talk Summer League Lakers, and we'll try again to get into this 2024 IST. The Lakers defending their title. Who are they going to have to play? All that next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, driving patience is what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need, the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
So one thing we haven't talked about, Andy, much in these first couple games for Team USA is LeBron. He played 21 minutes on Monday, pretty modest stat line, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Not, I think, working super duper duper hard in these games, which is what you want. I hope this is how it is for most of the tournament for LeBron, where he's not being leaned on in significant ways, and we'll probably crank it up as the Lakers get through deeper into the tournament against the better teams, and hopefully we'll be on cruise control for the rest of it.
As Team USA gets through more of the tournament, I mean, not
yes,
the Lakers. Correct. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Apologies.
No, I just wanted to make sure that you weren't talking about this in terms of what he does for the rest of this actual NBA season.
Yeah.
Look, man, I've seen LeBron do a lot of great things over what's now heading into season 21, plus other Olympic runs, plus blah, blah, blah. I want to see more, but I don't need to see it this summer. I'm happy to see it if it comes about organically, but I don't need to see it. And I've made no bones about the fact I don't begrudge LeBron for doing Team USA. I get why he wants to. This is clearly going to be his last go around with Team USA. But no, man, I don't want to see him exert himself at all. Sorry, I don't.
Me neither. I mean,
no,
when it comes down to it, I mean, if it means they don't win a gold medal, it's certainly not going to bother me.
If they can't win a gold medal with this team without LeBron going ham, like what the F, America?
Yeah, don't care.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Let's do better.
They shouldn't need that.
They shouldn't. And while it would be certainly a great moment for LeBron to have that, final gold medal thing where he lifts Team USA to a victory, let's let Anthony Edwards do it. Let's let the young guys do it. Let's let Anthony Davis even, lead the team if we need to. You wanted to make a point about Redick talking about AD and the DPOY thing.
Yeah, JJ Redick was recently asked about leaving Anthony Davis off of his all defense team. JJ Redick, before getting the job as the Lakers, famously was a member of the media, whether with ESPN or his podcast empire, and he got official award voting. His first team was Bam Adebayo, Victor Wembanyama, Rudy Gobert, Alex Caruso, and Herb Jones. Second team, Jared Allen, Jalen Suggs, Derek White, KCP, and SGA. And to summarize, he heavily implied that defensive success weighed heavily into his voting. He acknowledged Anthony Davis is a tremendous defender, and I think he described him as like a top 5 defensive player in the league even last year, and talked about wanting him to win Defensive Player of the Year this coming season. But he said that top 10 or, defensive success mattered a lot. And I will say,
like team defensive success.
Team defense. Yes, team defense. And
we're here to pick each other up.
He was, for the most part, broadly consistent with this. 8 of his 10 selections were part of teams that finished in the top 10 for NBA.com's defensive ratings, like those metrics. Right. That said, 2 of his first team guys, Alex Caruso and Victor Wembanyama, were bottom 10, so they clearly received a lot of leeway that AD did not, because, again, they made first team. And I would argue that Jared Allen and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander were afforded more grace than Anthony Davis while surrounded by multiple plus defenders, as opposed to AD, who spent most of his season surrounded by none. And
right,
those were also SGA and Jared Allen were Redick's only 2 selections that didn't actually make first or second team all defense. Like, look, does this matter in the grand scheme of things? Not really. I mean, if Anthony Davis was this upset about being left off JJ Redick's all defense team, I'm pretty confident he would not be coaching this team.
I think
Like,
that's
for
fair.
real. But
Yeah,
I do think
I agree.
it was just interesting to dig into the voting after I heard Redick's reasoning.
You and I, full disclosure, even when we were covering on a daily basis, whether for ESPN, whether for the Athletic, the LA Times, whatever, we've never been voters in these things. We're not,
Nope.
part of and whatever it is, the Writers Association for the NBA, or any of those things. So we've never been in this position. I do not.
We've been part of ESPN Rank 100. That was exciting.
That was, and we spent most of our time trying to figure out ways to not have to do it, because we found the project to be stupid.
But we were part of it.
we did it. But my point is, I afford a certain amount of leeway to people to be, sort of have an idea of what they want to do and how they want to develop criteria and things like that. And then when needed, bend their rules a little bit. I agree, statistically, the Spurs were not a good defensive team last year. The flip side of that is Wemby was like kind of otherworldly as the season, particularly as the season went on. Like, could you leave him off because the Spurs were not, didn't win a lot of games, were not a good defensive? Sure, you could. These are still individual awards. And this is really one of the difficult things about the NBA generally, is like, when how do you decide the criteria for who wins an individual award in a sport where your teammates deliver an enormous amount of context to your performance and all of these other things? And it's not been one that the media has always gotten right, but I also don't think it's one that the media can always get right. I don't think it's possible to get it always right, or stay always consistent, or get every nuance, or whatever. And so, you talk about Wembanyama, you talk about Alex Caruso, one of whom doesn't play the same position as AD. These are defensible guys to put on there. Certain guys are you just know they're that good. And maybe, I don't know what Chicago's defensive rating was, but I'm willing to bet it was lower without Caruso on the floor. Worse, I should say. And Alex Caruso is widely viewed by smart NBA people as one of the best defenders in the league. So, it's not, you don't want to penalize players for playing on good teams, but you also sometimes don't want to penalize players for playing on bad ones either.
I mean, Caruso and Victor Wembanyama ultimately made the team. I think Wembanyama was first team. So sure, it's not like Redick was, out of step with most of the voting populace by having those guys on there. What makes it interesting, though, is his rationale in the case of Davis, even though Davis ended up making first team all defense, I think deservedly. I think I would have made more allowances for AD, if nothing else, compared to Jared Allen or SGA, maybe even Allen, because I think Allen missed a few more games than AD, and also was surrounded by better defenders. Sure. But either way, again, it's not a big deal, and I don't think it reflects all of a sudden, the idea that the Lakers hired a coach that doesn't understand defense. I just thought it was interesting to hear his explanation, and then again, just sort of take a look at how his voting matched up with the rest of the voting populace and how it seemed to affect AD.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know if Redick expected to have to justify his vote in this specific context.
He and LeBron, Brian, had been planning his eventual hire for at least 3 or 4 months. If you ask some people, it's why they began the podcast in the first place. So he should have been ready.
I mean, there is something to be. There is probably more truth to that than
I'm just
or
saying.
maybe rephrase. If there's not, that probably maybe too strong a word. There could be more truth to that than I'm giving credit.
Just saying, for
But
somebody who's supposed to be such a meticulous planner and thinker, get your bleep together, JJ.
no, I understand. I'm just saying I feel like this is the explanation to me was reasonable enough, particularly if you understand how difficult it is and how uncomfortable it is for people to be in these situations for voting. Most people don't like it. I mean, especially I think, Andy, since the ability of guys to get like supermax contracts and all these other things are related to some of these awards and first team all NBA and other, like nobody in the media really relishes the idea of sort of messing with people's money in this way. So I'm okay with JJ here.
I'd be open to bribes if I had the votes.
Yeah, me too. All right, let's talk a little summer Lakers. Let's talk a little IST. We'll do it next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. We all love sports. We love them so much we never want the sports to stop. But as the playoffs in different leagues are finished and little bit of the doldrums, you get fewer games and the sports don't sports like we want them to. But FanDuel lets me, lets everyone keep the sports going whenever you want. All you got to do is just open up the app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And there are options. You got baseball, you got WNBA, according to a lot of WNBA pundits. Angel Reese has taken the lead over Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year. And that, by the way, has turned into a fantastic WNBA storyline.
Curious to see how that breaks down because Caitlin Clark's also putting up big numbers.
Well, just the fact that both of them this season are so good is fantastic for this boom period for the league. If you agree with the idea that Angel Reese is going to end up holding, you should maybe consider getting ahead of that action. And this summer, FanDuel hooking up all customers with a booster or bonus daily. Something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Well, Andy, the summer Lakers played again on Monday, and they lost again. And it was once again a rough offensive effort. I think if we've learned anything over the course of this summer, it is that summer league play really requires a point guard, a solid point guard to put this stuff together. And I don't, no disrespect to East the second, Tony East, I believe is his name.
Tony East covers the Pacers for the network.
What's the guy's name who plays for the Lakers? I think it's
Shawnee East the second.
He has not made much of an impression on me. That was all I know.
He's been on our show, Brian.
Sean East?
No, or Tony East.
Either way, the Lakers don't have good point guard play. And you're having Maxwell Lewis in positions where he's with the ball in his hands and sort of initiating offense, and Dalton Connect, who's probably been their most successful player at this, doing that type of stuff, which he sort of can do, handle the ball coming out of pick and rolls, but he's not a point guard. And Bronny James, who doesn't have really an offensive game to exploit as a point guard. Like the Lakers have been a mess offensively, which makes it really difficult to assess a lot of what we're seeing because it just looks so bad.
Dude, forget the idea that it's disappointing, period, that Jalen Hood-Schifino is still recovering from back surgery, because for his own progression and for the Lakers' investment in him as first round draft pick last year, they want him to be getting as much reps and as much development as possible. But good Lord, the summer league team actually misses anybody out there who has even a remote clue how to run the offense. Like, he didn't play in this game, but his absence, Tommy Kuhse looked like freaking Magic Johnson in terms of what was missing. Like, I mean, seriously.
Where'd that guy go? Like, did he go back to Germany? Like, what? Is he not there?
He was DMP-CD, Tommy Kuzi. I did not
good
hear
enough.
if he was
Wasn't good enough
hurt
to get
or
on the
anything.
floor. What are you doing? What's your face?
I'm just saying, man.
Coach guy.
Seriously, Tommy Kuzi looked like a Hall of Fame trajectory point guard, just based on how much things fell apart in his absence.
Yeah.
Good Lord, they cannot run sets at all.
The Lakers, the way the Lakers play it, it's like they're trying to tank the summer league season so they can get the best lottery odds for the number one pick in the next summer league season. But that's just not how this works. I think it's obviously Bronny, people want, but like he is not a point guard, and he is not somebody who has an offensive game. And he struggled again on Monday in terms of his shooting. I believe he is now 0 for 14 on the summer from 3-point range. Might be 0 for 15.
The official summer league, not counting the Cali Classic.
Right. No, I thought it was for all the summer games, but I could be wrong. I didn't think he'd take. He hasn't made a 3-pointer this summer in these games. So maybe it is just these summer league games and not the Cali Classic. Whatever it is, he's missed a bunch of them in a row. And he is not an NBA caliber offensive player at this point. He's not even close. He can make connecting passes. He has some, his passes tend to be very accurate in all these other things. But in terms of generating enough offense and being a threat to score himself that can draw other players, he's not even close. The Lakers, I think, understood that when they drafted him. But in terms of trying to have organized summer league play, the flip side of that is when you have a really bad offense, it tends to lead to bad defense, which also makes it harder to figure out the impact that Bronny is capable of having and what he can do on that side of the ball. I will say, Dalton Connect, the more I watch him, not that I was uncomfortable with any of it, even when he wasn't making buckets in San Francisco, the more I watch him play, the more confident I am that once he's put around AD, Austin Reeves, LeBron, those guys, he's going to be a pretty successful player.
Yeah, the playmaking that he's doing right now, it could come up every now and then during actual NBA games, but that's not going to be his actual role.
Primary playmaking. The secondary playmaking could. It comes off a screen, one dribble, things like that, make a pass, whatever it might be.
But the idea of point connect, that's not going to be happening during NBA games, and that's fine. This is just him getting the reps against NBA-ish talent and just the ability to go to more of his bag over the course of these games, just refining some of the stuff that he'll be doing during games, like we talked about, coming off screens, a lot of just general movement, attacking the rim, some things that I don't think he'll be doing much of in games at all, surrounded by better talent. But he was not efficient in this game, but you saw a lot of different things that he was capable of doing. You just saw like an overall comfort and smoothness when he was out there. There was a sequence in the third quarter where he had 2 straight driving finger roll baskets, and then he let a flyby in the corner go, took 1 dribble, hit a 3, then he had a steal out of the ensuing timeout, threw a hit-ahead pass to Hinson for a 3. Like he started getting going a little bit more in the fourth quarter. But again, like the efficiency clearly was not what you were looking for Connect. He finished with 19 points on 7 of 21 shooting, 2 of 6 from behind the arc. But there's a comfort and a confidence that you see when he's out there, and he looks the part of an NBA player who needs more seasoning. Say it again, the defense needs work. Like that is going to be something Laker fans are going to have to be patient with, because there will be times this season, I will predict now, he will get eaten alive. But a lot offensively looks really promising with him, and you can see why the Lakers were really excited that he slipped to him.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that really sticks out for me, at least, is that he is put in a position where he's having to take harder shots. Part of it, the other thing about not having a point guard to organize, not having more offensive talent around him, more shot creators, aside from Maxwell Lewis, who I thought was better on Monday.
He had a good first half.
Yeah, it was better. But he's still kind of all over the place. He was more decisive, I thought, on Monday. And
I thought his
you know,
first
making,
half of the game was actually pretty good. The second half,
yeah,
he
making,
kind of disappeared, but the first half, he
yeah,
was very strong.
I would agree. Making quicker decisions and all that kind of stuff when things were going well, but like they don't have shot creators around, you know, around the floor. And they don't have that organized offense through the point guard and stuff like that. So you end up with Connect taking more. I realize it's against the G League Celtics, but you're still taking much more difficult shots than the I'm sure the Lakers hope and believe he will be when the regular games begin, surrounded by better players and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not worried about the rest of these guys. There's really only one player, and this is a separate conversation. You talked about Hood Schifino, like the fact that there's really only one player of consequence playing for the Lakers right now in the summer league when you project forward to the regular season is a different discussion because, you know, I was hoping that maybe Castleton in his second year could play in a way that made you go, I wonder if he could be a guy who could play 25, 30, 35 games worth of meaningful minutes for the Lakers based on improvement from last year. And I think the answer to me thus far is no. Can do some things offensively. I wonder if those things would get taken away relatively quickly by NBA competition once he was scouted a little bit and whatever. Nice, smooth player, makes good decisions, physically struggles to stay above. Maxwell Lewis clearly is not in a position yet to push his way into the rotation. And Hood Schifino can't play. And that's not he's not sitting out because he wants to. He's still rehabbing his back. And, the timing continues to look bad because Brandon Pajemski is like scrimmaging with Team USA and putting up numbers and all that kind of stuff. And, this was going to be an important step for Hood Schifino, who had a nice G League season last year, to build on it. And he can't do it. And it's just, it reminds me a little bit of the season. The only guy that matters right now in terms of this season coming up is Connect, and so far so good, I think.
Yeah, there is a lot to like, I think, with Connect. There's stuff that needs improvement, but definitely I think more to be excited about than to be discouraged or uneasy about the Lakers play again on Wednesday. It's not a threat, but
it feels like one.
It sure does.
Yeah. We'll get to the IST, I guess, tomorrow, or we'll try. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to hang out with over 24,000 subscribers. Leave us questions, leave us comments. We'll see everyone tomorrow.